What is going on, people? Welcome to the Offside Chat podcast. As you know, we have got the live radio show every Saturday morning from 10 to 12 on the Beat London 103.6 FM. But this is the podcast. Now, we have to start off with, as you can see, the titles below, Arsenal Football Club. We have got two Arsenal supporters, probably one of the they've probably been labelled as negative, grumpy, pessimistic, to put it politely. But we have Ed and Kai, man. Welcome, guys, man. How are you, man? You all right?
Good, brother.
All good, my guy. Thanks.
Yeah. You guys look like you're going to bring some good positivity here. But listen, let's just deal with the elephant in the room. Let's just get on straight with this. It's only 3 games into the season. Arsenal sit on 7 points. But it looks like there could be trouble in the camp in regards to the fan base of a Arteta's selection dilemma. And you do ask yourself, is it a good thing for a coach to have such a vibrant squad that you've got, quality plays that you are going to have a dilemma, but it doesn't seem to be positive. It seems to be more negative. Let's deal with the elephant in the room. Ed, what is this selection dilemma that you are not happy with? A lot of the fan bases have already said, look, this Kai Havertz, it's only 3 games, but obviously he's trying to shoehorn in. And obviously, just to accommodate Havertz, it looks like it's messing up the rest, playing, the inverted fullbacks. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, like you said, it's only 3 games, so we have to practice caution. We have got 7 points out of a possible 9. So it's not all doom and gloom, as some of the fans will lead you to believe, sorry. However, I think with the signing of Havertz, he was already a question mark, because we've seen it with Chelsea. He's been there 3 seasons, and he never really looked like he was comfortable there. Never really hit the ground running. So when we signed him in the summer, I think most fans will probably be like, are you sure we needed him? Does he look like the kind of guy that's going to, elevate us to the level that we're looking to get to? Doesn't score enough goals. What's his best position? X, Y, Z. And unfortunately, in these 3 games, he hasn't been good. You have to be honest. He hasn't been good. He hasn't played like the player that he was promised to be when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. So I think a lot of fans are slightly worried about what the long-term ramifications are, whether Arteta can get the best out of this guy. He cost 65 million, man. He costs a lot of money. He's probably our highest paid player outside of a couple players at the squad. So yeah, people are thinking, what's going on here? And I know Arteta, he's a stubborn man to say the least. So he's going to want to make sure that he wasn't proven wrong. So that means we're going to persist with Havertz. He's going to make sure that we get the best out of him. And it might be to the detriment of the team, like I said earlier.
Like I said, Ed, what have you seen? What have you seen for you to come to that conclusion? Just for other Arsenal fans, might be, look, it's only 3 games in. Obviously, he's a new signing. His confidence was low. But what have you seen that you feel that that is worrying you? Because he could possibly get dropped for the next game. It's a big squad now.
I don't believe he gets dropped for the next game, but I haven't seen anything to suggest that we made the right decision early doors. But I like to be proven wrong. So it might be just, an early season blip where, he's not playing well. He's finding his feet in a new squad, getting to grips with the system in front of him and X, Y, Z. But he's not getting it. Listen, what annoys me is he hasn't played well. And a lot of fans on Twitter and social media are saying, but he's getting into the right positions and he's winning his duels and all these kind of things. But he wasn't bought for that. He wasn't bought just to be, a ball winner and win his duels. He was bought to score and assist. I know there's more to his game, but essentially he was bought to replicate at a high level and a greater level what Xhaka was doing in that role. And Xhaka scored, I think it was his season best and Arsenal best, 8 league goals last season. And he looked a much better player in that system, further forward, away from the defensive duties, but he can still chip in with his defensive duties. I think with Havertz, also his style doesn't lend to, him looking like he has a good game because, he kind of struts around the pitch. He looks languid, doesn't look like he's, ready to take the game by the scruff of the neck. So when you don't see him doing things that look like, okay, he's doing something, it makes you think, what's he actually doing? Like, he's not getting on the ball, he's not forcing the issue, he's not probing with his passes. So we're just thinking, what's going on here, man? Like, we want to see more from it.
And I get that. Look, it looks like obviously after the 2-2 draw with Fulham, which would have, everybody would have looked at that game and thought it's a definite 3 points for Arsenal. Obviously, Fulham haven't started the season well. But it just seems that after that 2-2, it seems to be Havertz is one of the first names. Now, I'm going to come to Kai. Now, is it fair, Kai, that, look, if you look at the 2 goals which was conceded by Arsenal, we had obviously the back pass by Saka, which was a gift, and they go 1-0 within a minute. And then look, they go down to 10 men, ready to see the game out. Arsenal winning 2-1, and then a corner. Obviously, Zinchenko loses possession. The corner comes over, and Paulina, you might as well say that he's unmarked. He's over 6 foot. It hits his shin and goes in. So it's 2 poor goals. Now, people are saying, oh, it's because of Havertz. I do kind of look at that and think, okay, you can't legislate for those sort of mistakes. You can't, because if those 2 mistakes didn't happen, that could have been a 2-0 or 3-0 easy win. And you guys probably would have been here today saying, I don't know if Havertz played well or not, but we got the 3 points and we're looking solid. Is that fair?
I'd say it is fair, but this lends back to something that I've always thought about the Havertz signing. What Ed said.
We've got back to Havertz.
Yeah, no, because it's the only part I'll go on. Then we'll go back to the game. But in terms of Havertz, look, think about it. We drew 2-2, yeah? And the first thing we spoke about was Havertz, right? We didn't speak about anything else. That was where we went to. So that's obviously a major topic. And that was my whole issue with the Havertz signing, is that he brings with him a sort of circus that I don't really want associated with the club. I think last year, and maybe the year before that, when we finished 5th, I think there was like a nice buzz energy around the club. For the first time, it was like a group of players that the fans liked. Not the first time, but the first time in a good while that it was a group of players that 95% of the fan base took to and wanted to get behind. I think we built on that again last year with Zinchenko, Jesus coming in. It was like, do you know what? I really, really like these players. I can see where they're going. Havertz, it's like he's got a kind of stench on him that he brings with him, and it becomes the Havertz show. It's the truth, because when he was at Chelsea, it was every game. Chelsea could play great, but did Havertz play well? And it's coming to a situation where that is now coming to Arsenal. And it's not just a fan base, it becomes a media circus, it becomes too much of a situation that I don't really want. I want Arsenal to be able to go about their business, win their games if they need to, even draw our games if we need to, like we did at Fulham, but it's become a topic of conversation, and it puts more pressure. And I think Havertz himself, I don't think it does him any favors. Of course not. And then it becomes a thing for everyone else. The man is going to be asked about it. Other players are now going to, because think about it, the players see media as well. So if you got someone in the change room thinking, mate, everyone knows that this guy's not the greatest. Maybe I should be playing. And he's banging at Arteta's door. For me, it creates a whole knock-on effect and affects the energy of the club and the change room as a whole. But to go back to
listen.
And that's one of my main issues with Havertz is that aside from everything else, but that's just one.
Now look, I can understand if fans like players or they don't like players. I do. And that's another conversation. But it was just for me, the reaction after that 2-2, it came down to, I looked at, the poor pass in the first 1 minute, giving away cheap goals. I thought that was more of a concern than the team selection that day. Is that fair, Ed? Because the team select, I looked at that result, although it seemed like a loss. It's a 2-2. I always look at how we conceded the goals, and I thought, well, this is a little bit more serious than a potential team selection, because he was taken off. Vieira came on and had a nice little cameo there. You know what I mean? Won the penalty, got the assist for Eddie's goal. So this is what I'm trying to say to you guys. Like, I understand your Havertz gripe, but let's just be fair. We were leading that game 2-1. Now Havertz went on the pitch when we conceded.
But again, that goes to show you, like, as soon as he come off the pitch, fluid. And this is not to have a great Havertz.
He's right.
As soon as we hooked him off, we became more fluid, But I think you're right, Nobs, in the sense that we're conceding cheap goals at home. and we're switching off. We're making defensive mistakes that weren't a hallmark of our season last season. So that's more of a concern.
Up into the last 10 games. Up into the last,
the first 28, we looked to cut above, and that's why we were in contention of winning the league. This season, we're conceding too many cheap goals. We're conceding first as well. And that is very difficult to come from. You know, when you concede first and you're chasing a game, it takes a lot of energy out of the players, man. And it's emotionally exhausting and draining, right? And we need to be better at controlling the game from the first minute. And we also need to be better at finishing our dinner. Too many times we let teams off the hook, which is very annoying. You know, that should have been a 4 or 5-0, not a 2-2. So you're right in the sense that we are making silly mistakes and where we're doing things that were uncharacteristic from last season.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. Right. Before we go on, we're just going to park the Havertz to the side. There's been a lot of rumblings that, you know, Arteta is tinkering too much Kai. You know, he's playing Kuya at left back. Partey now is the right back to try to accommodate Havertz, but then he wants more control with our defense. So we're basically playing 4 centre backs and stuff. But some people will be like, look, we were quite predictable last season. It was the same starting 11. Do you buy into that? Do you kind of, are you concerned with the team selection from Arteta so far? Because a lot of people are saying, look, I just want to go back to the normal Zinchenko, Gabriel, you know, Saliba and Ben White. And to be fair, that is our best defense. So where do you stand on that?
No, I mean, I completely understand people and fans that have that same sentiment. I totally agree with the fact that these 3 matches, we haven't looked as fluid and as fresh and even as attacking, even looked as good in attack as we did last year. I think that we've kind of missed something going forward, especially. I don't think defensively we've been any better or worse. We still don't give up 30 shots a game. It's not any crazy sort of issues where, apart from the Nottingham Forest, when they scored, that was the only time when I've really seen us look terrible in transition. So I remember a lot of fans had issues from the preseason tour because I think we conceded loads in transition. So that was a kind of a concern coming to the season. I haven't really seen that. So I think the only place where I think we look less fluid is attack. And look, I think Arteta is basically a kid at Christmas, and this is the first year where he's gotten every single toy that he's asked for. Like, you see, some years you might get 1 or 2, the main ones, and the other ones you might have to park that until your birthday or when you've done well or something. But I think Arteta, he finally has everything what he's asked for. So look, I think he's got enough credit in the bank to where we can allow 7 out of 9 is not horrible. Like, we can get upset. We haven't looked terrible in those games. I think we just wanted to come out and just obliterate teams like how we did last year, kind of build on that and look even more ruthless than we did at times last season going forward. But I think that Arteta knows that we're going to be in loads of competitions, and I think that he kind of wants to just see what he can do at the start. I think maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we're seeing it as, do you know what, to beat City, you have to just fly and never look back. Like, it has to be one way. But I think maybe he's got, I could be wishful thinking here, but maybe he's got a certain confidence in his team that, okay, look, these lot can last the whole way this time. I think they can. Whatever happened last year, we'll get that out, but I've got a real confidence. But along the way, I'm going to try things because I don't think it's going to be completely detrimental to how we want to move forward and win football matches. So, yeah. I think maybe, even for me, I don't always like how we've played, but I think maybe an element of patience. If it starts going completely wrong, then cool, hold your hand up. But I think it's because we haven't seen the kind of football we expected to see. And I don't think in today's day and age, and with how many different matches we play and the stuff teams do on each other, that it will be in our best interest to just carry on playing the exact same way for 50, 60 matches.
No, of course. Ed, where do you stand with, because everyone says, oh, look, this is what obviously Pep did last time. I don't really like to see, you know, all of those, you know, obviously Partey playing right back, Gabriel, I mean, should we be worried about this? He did say this, it was tactically or for tactical reasons he's out of the team. But again, this does kind of worry you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't buy into it being tactical purely because if it was tactical, why wasn't this done in pre-season? You know, he played the majority of all the pre-season games, and he looks all right. You know, he's one of our better players, one of our senior players as well. So for him to be dropped from the first game and not really get back into the squad, something I think might be a deeper issue. Maybe, you know, his head's been turned. We don't know yet, but I don't think it's purely tactical. I think there's something more, because for me, there's certain partnerships you don't mess up. You don't mess up the centre-back partnership, your midfield partnership as well. You don't really mess it up, because those are the bedrocks, the foundations of your team, and then you can build on that. So for it to be Saliba and Ben White, you're now putting Saliba on the left when he was the right-sided defender and Gabriel was the left-sided defender. So he has to get to grips with another position. And, you know, as a result, it's causing little mini fractures in the team. And that's why we might look fluid, because players are getting played out of their position, you know, for whatever reason. Well, like what Kai said, it's true. Last year, we did have a pretty much settled first 11, and there was a few players that came in every now and again. So from that aspect, yeah, it's good to have, you know, more leeway, more tactical flexibility, more weapons at your disposal, right? But at the same time, you don't want to be chasing the pack. Yeah, we've got 7 out of 9, but City have 9 out of 9. And you don't want them to get ahead. And this season, there's a lot of expectation on us. I know it's only 3 games, but we need to win something this year, man. So I believe, and I would want Arteta to revert to type, or at least our defense. So I want Ben White back at right back, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. That can be your back four going forward until, you know, God forbid something happens or you feel the need to change. Because the best thing to do right now is keep momentum and keep winning games. We don't want to drop any more points, because who knows when City are going to drop points. They came from behind against Sheffield. You know what I mean? So they still got a winning formula. They don't know that they miss KDB too much. So we need to make sure that we apply the pressure and keep the pressure on, and we need to win something this year. So that's why I don't really want to see too much tinkering. I like to see tweaks, but you don't move away from a winning formula, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Keep the bedrocks there, like with City, and I know I keep mentioning them, but they are the standard, right? You know, when healthy, it's going to be Haaland, KDB, and probably Diaz and Edison, right? That spine never really changes.
I mean, well, to be fair, listen, to be fair, because I can see Kai wanted to come in, but to be fair, when it comes to City, especially last season, because I don't really like the comparison sometimes, but it just seems with Arsenal, we do get to, you know, we're always kind of compared to City. But last season, up until Christmas, I know the situation with Cancelo, but it then kind of changed again for them, you know. So they were kind of, you know, playing their standard, you know, back four until obviously the Cancelo situation kicked off. Then Akanji and Ake came in. Obviously, John Stones stepped in, and then they just went on that run. So I mean, it could all change. Sorry, Kai, you were going to say something more about the.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it, you said we have to move away from it, but we're only really changing our formation for one man. Like, we're only changing it for one person, so it's like, it's almost like there's no way to not talk about it. It's almost like how we not discuss the reason why we've changed our whole makeup of how we played last year. Like, all the relationships on the right were thriving. The part Odegaard, Saka, White down the right, on the left, Martinelli. Bear in mind, Jesus isn't playing, but still, there's a few dynamics that have kind of been shaken up. You know, look, now that Zinchenko is fully fit, I think then we'll get, or he's getting back to fitness, then we'll get our real answer. If he comes back and he goes back to normal, we'll be like, cool, Arteta was trying something based on what he had, and then this will kind of all blow over, and then whatever happens will happen. But I think now, we'll see.
Yeah, look, there's a huge game coming up. It's probably one of the biggest games, I'm going to say, in world football, because the Premier League is one, if not the most popular league and watch league in the world. But, you know, I'm not going to say in the hype, but, you know, Manchester United versus Arsenal was the fixture that, you know, everybody wanted to see. This sort of grudge has continued, even though both teams have not hit the heights that they should have. But this does seem to be the game on the calendar for both United and Arsenal fans that you really don't want to lose, to be fair. And it kind of sets the tone. Now, coming back to Havertz and selection, I do kind of believe that this is a game where it can kind of change narratives. Now, I know obviously, Ed, look, you've made it very clear you haven't liked Havertz in the first 3 games. But if he comes on and scores, puts on a good performance, gets a couple of goals United, would that kind of change the narrative for you? Because there's games to score in, but then with that one, to get one over, which is obviously Arsenal's rivals, would that kind of change the narrative for you? Because he is a big game player. Remember, everybody said Havertz is a big game player. Look, against Real Madrid with Chelsea, the Champions League final goal. I don't think that itself is worth 65 mil, but he's a big game player. This is the reputation that he's got. So would that change the narrative for you?
Of course, it always helps when you score against your 2 biggest rivals. So if he does his job against United and Spurs, even if he never does anything again in the Arsenal shirt, you always got his memories, right? So it will help, restore some faith in him. So if he has a good performance and he just looks at the races from minute 1 to 90, of course, all you want to see is effort and application. That's all you want to see as fans, We don't like to get on players. Contrary to what popular opinion, people think that fans always want to get onto players for not doing the right thing. All you want to see is as soon as you put on our shirt and you play for our team, is that you run hard, you do your job, you never shirk your responsibilities, man. So if you're walking around the pitch and not looking interested, that's going to put people's nose out of joint because, the people pay their hard-earned money to see their team play and win. So if you don't look like you're giving effort, it's going to upset a few people. So, we're going to give Havertz some grace and some time, but, he's got, a couple more games, back up his ideas, man. Early days has not really been great. That's all I can say, man.
Right. Let's go back to Kai. Kai, we talk about Mikel's selection dilemma. What's the strongest midfield for you?
Partey, Odegaard, Rice.
Yeah, I'd say so.
No brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is. I don't think there's an Arsenal fan or many Arsenal fans that would disagree with that. I mean, watching the Charity Shield, and I saw that midfield. Obviously, I think Timber is the one that I can vouch for both of us here. That that one killed me, man. Like honestly, because what I saw from him, it was just a team setup. Even you guys were like, Nobs, you're getting a bit excited. I didn't even mind Havertz in that false 9. Do you know why I think it was? Because I looked behind and I saw Rice in the A. I saw Odegaard, I saw Partey. I thought that's a dream midfield. Like, for me, that midfield is going to be the majority of midfields. Yeah, I mean, it's too much to handle in that midfield. So when I saw that, it's got power, it's got control. They can break the lines, the physicality in there as well. I will agree with you. That is the midfield that everybody wants to see. Will we see that on Sunday against Manchester United, Kai?
I don't think so. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh.
I just think Arteta, as Ed said before, he's a stubborn you. I think Arteta's a stubborn guy. And, I don't think, as weird as this might sound, yeah, I don't think we've seen Arteta be stubborn enough to his detriment. To our detriment. I don't think we've seen it too much to a point where we can really pinpoint and say, no, do you know what? Because of Arteta's stubbornness, this has happened. Similar to like when Wenger, when we knew, like, because Wenger doesn't want to get a real DM, we're so high up the pitch and we always get countered with that same, and they'd always talk about it on Match of the Day, that same counter-attack goal. We're like, no, Wenger, that is you being stubborn and we know it. I don't think we have that sort of sample size with Arteta yet where we can see that it's really, really, really burning us. So that's why I said before, he's still got some credit in the bank. But to answer your question, no, I don't think we're going to see that. I think he's like, no, do you know what? The way how I see it, we should have won all 3 of these matches. Fulham's a one-off. We're usually decent from set pieces. That's one thing what you can't say, it's typical Arsenal, soft Arsenal.
But would you say that's linked to Gabriel as well, though?
I mean, yeah, he's definitely a factor. I mean, he's a 6'4" centre-back. You'd rather have him in there than not. But, I mean, yeah, definitely. I didn't even think of it from that perspective. So, yeah, that is where we definitely do miss Gabriel. But as I said, we haven't looked susceptible to concede in other games. That's the only one. So it's almost like you can say, well, if he was there, would it have happened, or was it a theme? It wasn't like we've looked horrible for set pieces before that. So it's a funny one, but no, man, I think Arteta's going to go at the same thing. He's in a wait for Havertz to pop off. He's waiting for that. He's waiting for it more than what we are. Trust. He's waiting for Havertz to bang.
Ed Kai said that he doesn't see that, he's going to change it there. But surely against Rashford, look, it looks like Rashford is moved back onto the left. Surely Arteta will not put Thomas Partey at right back there.
I hope not, but I'm with Kai. I believe he's going to have the same 11. Maybe Zinchenko will come in instead of Kiwior at left back. But yeah, I can't see him changing too much. I think what he will do if he was to concede with Havertz is he will probably put him in the 9. You won't take him out of the team.
Okay.
You probably put him up
I
front.
can kind of see this as well, yeah.
That's what I believe. And not to slightly disagree with Kai's point, not to the detriment of Arteta, but this kind of reminds me of Willian. He persisted with Willian when he first signed him. And everyone can see, like, what's going on? This guy is not playing for us right now, and he played him. Contrast to Pepe. Pepe on that one bad game, you won't see him for 2 months. Willian would have stinker after stinker. He's still playing. So I think this is more of a Willian signing where he's put his neck out on the line for him, and he's going to make sure that Havertz, performs to the level that he believes he can. So that's the stubbornness where we're going to get. He's not going to be the detriment of the team, but it's almost like, brother, man, like, Kai, dude, show something, prove Arteta right. But I don't think he's got it in him at the moment. But it remains to be seen.
Hey, the fact that he has the same name as me winds me up as well, to be fair. I'm not going to lie. It's been collaborating through my head every time that someone's like,
Listen, I think you made that point about Havertz playing in the false 9 now, or as the 9. As I said, it's the last time I'm going to say it. I thought, apart from he didn't finish his in, I thought against City it was good. I was going to buy that, Ed, but then I thought 2 things. One, Gabriel Jesus, I know he did come on for the final 10 minutes, but him at the Emirates, I think bringing him back into the team, I think you're going to start seeing a better Martinelli, definitely, a better Saka. I think maybe he could possibly, as people are saying, he can unlock Havertz. This is what a lot of people are saying, aren't they? Just with him here. I know, listen, Kai, it's not for you. I know, but look, this is what the streets are saying, and that it can unlock Havertz. But then also you've got to think about Eddie Nketiah. Now, there's Eddie Nketiah away from home. And then there's Eddie Nketiah at the Emirates. And we can't deny Eddie Nketiah at the Emirates against Manchester United as well. 2 goals against Manchester United, which I think that's probably his best day in an Arsenal shirt for him against Manchester United. Scores the equaliser and then scores the winner as well. He scored again on Saturday. So it's kind of hard. I mean, where do you think this is going to go, Kai? Like, who is going to start? Because Jesus is Arteta's favourite. I think, and it is everybody Arsenal fan will say, look, Jesus is our best 9. I know, Ed, before he starts, you want to see more goals from him, but he is, our best 9. But then it also is Eddie at the Emirates, just cannot stop scoring. How are we going to start up front with this? It's definitely going to be Martinelli and Saka. We know that.
I think Jesus starts. Yeah, that's why I don't think he played any part against Fulham. I think another full week of training. I think Jesus starts, and that's peak on Nketiah, but the game is the game, man. Get it?
It's the game, isn't it?
Yeah, the game is the game, man. And I'm not mad at Nketiah coming off the bench in big games. Whereas before, I had the kind of stigma like, oh, what's he gonna do? Just come on and foul the centre back and get a yellow card. Honestly, but no, he went through a phase where he was moving. But now, if Nketiah comes on, I'm like, do you know what? He can bag one. Like, I've got a lot more faith. So yeah, I think he's a great weapon to have at the bench, even if we need to score one, or even if we're up and Jesus for a while, a bit tired. Someone else that we know can get us another one. Yeah, I'm not mad at Jesus getting a young half hour, 20 minutes in the game under any circumstances that we're in, winning, losing. Exactly. I'm happy with it. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Jesus starts.
He starts with Jesus. Now, listen, as we know, when it comes to Arsenal, Manchester United, form does go out. Now, Manchester United are on the same points as us anyway, even after losing to Spurs, I believe. Well, they're on 6 points. No, they're on 6 points. So
Yeah,
they're a point behind us. Obviously beaten Nottingham Forest 3-2 at home, going 2-0 down. The thing is, I know obviously a lot of Arsenal fans are upset with Timber injury. I think we've been kind of lucky. Zinchenko's just on his way back, same as Jesus. So the squad looks like it's bulging, it's thriving. They're all ready to go. Look, we're talking about who's going to start up front. When and how many years have we been in this position where we're like, okay, we still got Trossard to come, Reece Nelson is there, we still got Saka, Martinelli, Jesus. Look, we're talking about a guy that's in form at the Emirates and Nketiah, and we're still saying he could be dropped for Jesus. So it looks like on our side, bar Timber, injuries are there, but Manchester United are really going through it at the moment. Varane has apparently been ruled out for, I think it's up to 3 weeks. Luke Shaw could be 3 months now. Ed, what sort of United do you think we're going to see?
Like you said, form does go out the window, man. So when you're hearing all of these injuries and loss of form, you're thinking, we could really smash them, and I would love us to smash them. But when it comes to playing United, it doesn't matter what kind of shape they're in, that they're not going to roll over for us. If that's, I don't know whether it's like, Fergie's dying wish that you do not lose to these men. But every time we play them, even if we beat them, it's never really comfortable. I can remember a few times where it's been like completely smooth sailing. But even last season, they score first. Russia does a madness. You know what I mean? We have to come from behind in that game. You know what I mean? And then they go ahead, and then we do our thing.
No, we went ahead, and then they equalized, and then
scored. Sorry, my bad. But then they picked us back, and then Eddie comes to the rescue again. But
we were all over them. That's the thing. We were all over them that game. But the result doesn't always reflect.
Exactly. We coached a 5-0, but it was 3-2.
Yeah.
I think it could be the same sort of thing. I think, we'll coach a 5-0, but I will not be surprised if it's 2-1,
Yeah. Kai, how concerned are you? And I mentioned this just at the beginning of the pod before we kind of wrap up. How concerned are you with the cheap goals that we are giving away? And I've said this from, obviously, it's this season as well. The game against Fulham, 2 cheap goals given away. And as I said, you can't legislate for that because, again, it just changes tactics, puts you under pressure that you don't really need to do. At the Emirates, how concerned are you that possibly we just keep giving it? It has to stop at one stage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty concerned, to be fair, because I think that it's more of a mentality thing on both ends for us and for other teams. So for me, I look back to teams that were feared and really teams didn't want to attend those stadiums. Like you think back to City, even in their earlier days under Pep or even anyone, they'd come there and you'd be down maybe 1-0 within 5-10 minutes. Like you'd always, even us, I'd always say, we're at the Etihad, if we're 0-0 after 15 minutes, I'm happy with that. How pathetic is that as an Arsenal fan, by the way? But it was just that era. So I remember at Anfield, Liverpool, you'd look during the clock hype, 10 minutes gone, 2-0, Mane, Salah, quick, game's over. Just 90 minutes of just getting run up on. If they score 1, they're happy.
Yeah.
Arsenal now, I don't want it to be a place where teams think, oh, do you know what? You can get these, man, because it takes away from that psychological fear factor that I think you need if you want to really excel and become that top team. You need teams to be shook of you. Like it's all part and parcel of it. It's another part of being a really top team, and I think that we're slowly but surely getting into that category where teams are still going to come and sit back and not expect to win, but I think midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, when they're in the film room and they're looking, they're like, do you know what? If you do this, if you do that, you can get out Arsenal. We can maybe get a draw, or we can get a result. And I'm not trying to hear all that. To me, your home should be your fortress for a top team. And I'm concerned that we're just doing silliness at home and conceding in a manner that we're not meant to.
I mean, I definitely agree when you're talking about being a fair team. I think this season, just the way that it did go last season, I know Arsenal didn't really finish the job and get the league done, but teams are going to really, set up differently against us now. I think it's not that they were taking us lightly before, but we kind of blitzed that first half of the season. And I think a lot of teams are going to be really sitting deep and trying to hit us on the break. In regards to what Kai said, just to kind of end it about the fear factor, I think it's quite clear that over the last 3 to 4 games against Manchester United, there is a fear factor there, just the way that they set up. Obviously, I know in pre-season they were very overzealous, very aggressive. The Emirates Stadium, the 3-1 or the 3-2 last season, you could see, like Kai said, we were all over them probably from 60 minutes. I mean, the goal was coming. They were literally just, hanging on. Shaw didn't want any convo with Saka. I've never seen a player back off so much, and that was for nearly over half an hour, but the goal was coming. It's just the way that United do set themselves up. Do you think they've got a fear factor going into this game, thinking we've got injuries now? Luke Shaw's out, Varane, that's 2 out of the 4 of the first choices out.
Mason Mount out.
Mason Mount is
Martial,
out
not
as
really
well.
like the player that he was promised to be. Yeah, I think there's probably some doubt, but again, I think once they cross over the white lines, it probably goes all out the window. But to echo what Kai said, you're right. I want us to be feared from the tunnel. When you look to your right and you see the man, you're thinking, I don't know, man, it could be a long day. Like what we used to have at the Emirates. At Highbury, when you see Henry, Bergkamp, Vieira, all these men, you just look to your right and you're thinking, boy, if we get away with a 2-0, I'm happy. I want us to become that team again. And I think, like Kai and Nobs, you both said, we're slowly getting there, but we need to eradicate the silly mistakes, Like Kai said, I don't want, teams to be in a film room looking like, okay, cool. Look at that sloppy back pass from Saka again and Zinchenko, if he switches off, you can get behind him and then, we put a cross in. So I want us to be no weak links in the armor, man. No chinks in the armor. So yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine. All right, guys, listen, this isn't going to be the last Arsenal podcast, no doubt, this season, but it is going to be a blockbuster on Sunday. There's no two ways about that. Guys, make sure that you do subscribe to the Beats YouTube page, and we will be back on the weekend every Saturday, as I said, live from 10 to 12 on the Beat London 103.6 FM. We'll see you soon.